What's up, you guys? Sean Ross Sapp back here in Canada with Jimmy Van, talking about figures, talking about variant figures. Jimmy, explain to the people what this is if they don't know.
So variance means that you can have two versions of the same figure and there are differences between them. Either the color of the paint, something with the card that they're on, some difference between one and another. Those are called variants. And I know that in this, LJN collecting community, some people are so hardcore about it that they will collect every variant that they can find. If one guy has red boots and then the other version has dark red boots, I gotta have both of them.
A lot of it comes down to little things like shading, some of which may even be errors in like batches of paint or anything like that. There are a lot of different ways. There are intentional variants and then some that may be unintentional variants.
To be honest with you, I don't know if any of them are intentional.
Okay.
So I spoke to Bill Stanhope from LJN. I asked him about the variants. And he told me that what he believed was it was based on what they had at the factory at the time they were producing the figures. That's what he was told. Some of the variants are way more obvious than others, and so I got a few examples that I'm going to show you. One example, one of the most popular wrestlers in WWE history, Special Delivery Jones. For some reason, they made two different color shirts for SD Jones. They've got the Hawaiian shirt, and they just have the kind of like maroon colored shirt. And I forgot to lift them up like you asked me to.
Yeah.
But so this is an example of a variant, and again,
he's in the shot away from those.
Yep, and again, from what Bill Stanhope told me, it was based on what they had available in the factory at the time. So maybe they ran out of yellow, blue paint, and so they went with purple for the shirt. Don't know, but that's what he said. This is one of the examples of a variant that people will collect because it's a very obvious.
Yeah, it's very evident. Which figure do you prefer?
The Hawaiian shirt's obviously much more colorful and detailed, but that's one example. One that is very popular now, and I can tell you one of the major differences as to why this exists. Miss Elizabeth, she's closed this time.
Yeah, I was going to say, whoa, what's going on here?
So this is the more popular, more rare purple skirt Elizabeth, and this is the gold skirt Elizabeth right here. And the reason, from my understanding, that this difference exists is the purple skirt was actually produced by Grand Toys after they took over the license from WWE. This one, from what I understand, was the original one produced by LJN, and you can see on the front of the card it says Grand Toys.
I see. Yeah, there's
right there
card differences on the back as well. Which, I mean, is that just a nature of one being from Canada and one being from America?
I think it's because this one was produced later, and so there were a lot more figures available.
Sure.
This one was produced earlier, and there were less figures available.
Was she the only woman producing that line, or was there?
No. So she came. This would have come out probably around 1989, 88, towards the end of the line, around the time that Grand Toys took over the license from LJN. What made her unique on this one is you can also get this purple skirt Elizabeth on the black card, which is part of the 1989 set. But they also made it on the blue card here. And again, I know some people think this is from the same time period because they're both on blue cards, but when you look at the back of the card, it's very obvious. One was produced during the earlier run, one was produced later on.
That was one of the things I first noticed because we able to show the card. So on this one, it has my first figure ever, the Hillbilly Jim.
Of course. Big shock that's the first figure you ever had.
I grew up 20 minutes from Mud Lick, the Mud Lick Raceways. But yeah, and then you see this version, which obviously has a lot of newer figures associated with it.
Yep.
But otherwise, besides the skirt, identical, right?
Identical, yeah. Just the skirt is the only difference. Now, one of the more popular variants that I'll show you, and one of them is more rare than the other, is they actually made 3 Corpal Kershner's.
Yeah.
And again, talking to Bill Stanhope, I was able to get some information on why that might have been. So I got 2 of them for you. This is the original, and this is what they consider to be the clean-shaven Corpal Kersner right there. And this one is the bearded Corpal Kersner right there. I have seen the prototype of Corpal Kersner because Bill had it. The prototype, he's got stubble. So the prototype, he's got, little specks of paint.
I covered everything.
And you can get a stubble version retail as well. I've seen it. And I have it. I have it in my cabinet. So from what I understand, it came down to just you're mass producing them in a factory. They don't want to take too long to get this stuff done. They use the template that they put over the face and spray it on. And so what they found was when they tried to do the stubble using, spray painting it on, it turned out more like a beard.
And it's difficult to figure out if he's got stubble or clean shaven on the picture. It's more of a wide shot of him.
Right, yeah. But from what I understand, the reason the beard one exists is just when they were trying to do the stubble and spray painting the template, it came out like a beard. And so this one, which I think is the more common one, is clean shaven.
Yeah.
I think it might have been because just faster to produce, less cost of goods, and so that's probably why they ended up with that. So that's another example of a known variant. Now, there's a lot of variants that I don't really consider to be a variant.
Sure.
Because there's a ton of them. Like, for example, you could maybe get a Corpal Kersner figure, and it'll say on the card down there, one-man gang.
Okay, yeah.
I've seen a bunch like that. I don't consider that a variant that I would collect because that was just a factory error.
Yeah.
There's a ton of them. The ones that I like are the ones that are like very obvious differences to the actual figure, whether it be the purple skirt, whether it be the beard on Corpal Kersner. Those are the ones that I like, but tons of variants exist. And then the other thing I will show you, I guess you can call this a variant too. The very first line they ever did, and here's Hulk Hogan from the very first line. See, there's only 5 at the time.
Yeah.
On the back of the card, there's only 5 when they started. They had a display stand in the actual package.
Okay. Yeah.
If you can get a zoom in on the bottom of that.
Those were prevalent in the 90s with the Jack's Bone Crunchers as well. They started to put the little holes in the bottom.
Yep.
And listen, in my collecting of Jack's Bone Crunchers, there were a whole bunch of people that would seek out ones that had the holes for the stands and then ones that didn't.
There you go. Yep. Well, I have, again, this is one where I consider to be special enough that I have both. So I have one that doesn't have the stand and one that does. And to me, this was probably a business decision, less cost of goods, probably. And so that's why they stopped producing them. And now, I've talked before about artists and doing customs. You can buy recreations of those stands because people, they scan one and they 3D print them, they sell them online. So you can get those for any figure you want. But in terms of being in the package, they only did it for the first 5, as you can see on the back right there. And then after that first 5, they stopped producing them.
Something I noticed that is on this card that isn't on this card that maybe you can explain. Wrestling Superstars points. What are those?
I'm not sure. So I vaguely remember...
Oh, no, it is on that. It's up higher.
Oh, yeah, it's up higher.
It's up higher.
I vaguely remember that you could trade them in and get something.
Okay.
Because remember back
Naked
in the
Miss
day...
Elizabeth, maybe.
Yeah, maybe Naked Miss Elizabeth. Miss Elizabeth was a pipe dream at this time.
It's like the episode of Angry Beavers where one of the beavers saves up all the box tops of his cereal to get a street sweeper. That's it. That's it. But
well, that was a very appropriate title of a show to talk about when we're talking about Naked Miss Elizabeth.
Oh boy.
So, so this again is one that I guess you can consider a variant, but it's obvious why they stopped doing it, just because of the cost.
Yeah.
And like I said, there's a ton of variants that some people consider to be valuable as a collector. Like Junkyard Dog, they made 3 different colored chains as an example.
Okay.
Some of them to me aren't as important. Like you can get a Roddy Piper with red boots and a Roddy Piper with like purple boots.
Yeah.
Probably because of what was available at the factory at the time. But that is the world of variants. And like I said, to me as a collector, everybody's different. To me as a collector, the ones that are obvious are the ones that I'm interested in. The ones that are just, they got this guy's name on the card.
Yeah.
That to me doesn't matter, but that's what variants are.
Guys, if you like this video, we should have a bunch in the playlist. We also have a bunch of figure haul videos over on FightfulSelect.com. Go check it out. Jimmy, as always, thank you for giving us some insight. Until next time, my friends, we're out.